rain hammered the empty crossroads as sirens bled into the night. And Alex Mercer said, "Tell me where she is." The phone vibrated like a trapped wasp. Victor Hale said, "Choose now, or your silence kills her." Alex swallowed the copper taste of dread. Neon smeared across the wet asphalt like lies. Alex said, "You want a confession or a trade?" Victor said, "A name, a file, and your principles." The light turned green, and no cars moved, as if the city held its breath. Alex pictured Lily's room, the lamp tilted like a warning. Alex said, "You touch her, I burn your world." Victor laughed, thin as glass. The clock on the corner blinked, and time felt rigged. The line hissed like a fuse, and Alex said, "You think fear makes me loyal?" Victor said, "Fear makes you honest." A horn wailed somewhere, thin as grief. Alex scanned the corners for watchers. A sedan idled, windows dark as a threat. Alex said, "You want the audit files, but you want me ruined more." Victor said, "Principles are expensive." Thunder rumbled like a verdict. Alex pictured Lily's laugh, sharp and bright. Alex said, "I can't buy her life with someone else's death." The sidewalk glistened like a map of bad options, and Alex said, "Give me proof she's alive." Victor said, "Listen." A muffled whimper leaked through the line. Alex steadied her breathing. Tires hissed past indifferent. Alex said, "Hurt her, and you end this leverage." Victor said, "You misunderstand leverage." The word tasted bitter. Alex measured the weight of the name he wanted. The rain punished every hesitation. A second call flashed, and Maya Chen said, "I found a back door in the archive." Alex said, "Not now." Maya said, "They're scrubbing access logs tonight." The city thundered like a closing gate. Alex stared at the sedan's mirror, hunting ghosts. Victor said, "Tick, tock." Alex said, "I will not trade a life for silence." Maya whispered, "Trust me, but move." The streetlight popped, and darkness leaned closer. The call returned to a razor whisper. And Victor said, "Say the name, Alex." Alex said, "You want Elias Ward." The word fell like a stone in deep water. Victor paused, smiling in the quiet. Alex said, "You framed him, and now you want him erased." Victor said, "I want order restored." A siren flared and faded. Alex said, "I will find you first." The line clicked, and the rain felt colder. Alex locked the deadbolt and peeled off a jacket that dripped onto unpaid bills. Maya said, "I traced Victor's proxy through a municipal node." Alex said, "He uses public rot as a mask." The radiator clicked like a metronome for dread. Maya said, "If we pull the audit files, we expose his handlers." Alex said, "And paint a target on you." The laptop fan rose like a tide. Maya said, "Truth has to breathe to live." Alex said, "Truth also bleeds." The rain softened, and the city felt watchful. Alex said, "I promised a child I would not lose her to my mistakes again." Maya said, "Then make a better mistake." The memory arrived, uninvited, framed by a courthouse echo. Judge's footsteps faded like a warning, and Samuel Rourke said, "You win by learning where to bend." Alex said, "Bend turns into break." Reporters murmured like gulls before a storm. Samuel said, "You cannot save them all." Alex said, "I am not trying to save all, just one." The marble smelled of polish and compromise. Samuel said, "Principles are elegant until they cost you blood." Alex said, "Then let them be expensive." The doors sighed, and her conviction rattled. Back in the apartment, code crawled like ants across the screen. Maya said, "Here's a scrub timestamp that still casts a shadow." Alex said they forged absence. A hidden folder opened like a trapdoor. Maya said, "Payment chains route through a wellness charity." Alex said, "Victor sells virtue and buys silence." The cursor blinked, impatient as a metronome. Maya said, "Elias flagged this pattern months ago." Alex said, "Then he is a scapegoat by design." The room seemed smaller as the truth grew larger. Alex said, "Pull every ledger that breathes his name." The diner smelled like burnt sugar and old confessions. Samuel said, "You cannot fight a machine by throwing yourself into its gears." Alex said, "Maybe the jam is the point." Neon painted pink scars across chrome. Samuel said, "Victor is a symptom, not a cure to remove." Alex said, "He is the hand pressing the knife." A waitress clinked cups like tiny verdicts. Samuel said, "Trade the files for the child." Alex said that trade poisons the well. Silence pooled, deep and reflective. Samuel said, "Then be ready to lose something you love." On the rooftop, the city breathed steam and secrets. Alex said, "I will not trade a life for rot." The wind tugged at her words like thieves. She set the phone to record and said, "If I fail, follow the ledger trail we found." Distant sirens braided with dawn birds. Alex said, "Maya, if I vanish, publish everything." The clouds thinned, revealing a bruised horizon. She touched a photo and said, "I am coming. Hold the light for me." The resolve settled, cold and clean. Victor's threat felt smaller than her promise. The warehouse smelled of oil and betrayal. Maya said, "Logs show he's moving funds tonight." Alex said, "Then he's vulnerable." The rafters groaned above, shadows swaying like nooses. Maya said, "One wrong step and we're targets." Alex said, "We're already marked." Sparks crackled from loose wiring, like a fuse begging to burn. Alex steadied her breath, eyes fixed on a sealed crate. She said, "If Lily's name hides in here, I tear it open." Maya said, "Then pray the truth doesn't burn us first." The night pressed in, hungry for answers. The crate's lock snapped under a crowbar's bite. Inside, bundles of files like coffins of paper. Alex said, "Every lie written in ink." Maya said, "Ledger trails, payouts, signatures. His empire is here." A rat scurried, its squeak thin as guilt. Alex flipped through pages that cut sharper than knives. "No," she said, "these names are sacrifices." Maya said, "Including yours if you're caught." Thunder rolled, echoing inside the steel ribs of the warehouse. Alex said, "Then I bleed loud enough to wake the world." Her fingers shook, but did not stop turning pages. A spotlight sliced through a broken window, and footsteps multiplied. Victor's voice carried like velvet soaked in venom. "Curiosity digs graves, Alex." Alex said, "Your graves overflow already." The air thinned as men fanned out with rifles. Maya whispered, "We can't outrun 10 guns." Alex said, "Then we outthink them." Crates towered like chess pieces in a rigged match. Victor said, "You have something of mine." Alex said, "No, I have something of theirs, the truth." The silence stretched, lethal as a drawn bowstring. The gunmetal click of safeties echoed. Victor said, "Step forward, and she lives. Step back, and she vanishes." Alex said, "You don't hold all the strings." He laughed, the sound like shattered glass. Maya said, "Alex, he's bluffing." Alex said, "Bluffs don't echo with sirens." A phone chimed in Victor's pocket. He said, "One call, and she is memory." Alex stepped closer, each pace heavy as iron. Her heart battered ribs like fists. She said, "Then hear mine. I won't kneel for rot." Silence deepened, taut as wire. A sudden crash shattered the standoff. Samuel burst through a side stairwell door. He said, "Enough." Victor said, "Ah, the broken compass returns." Samuel said, "I bent, not broke." His voice cracked like weathered stone. Alex said, "Why are you here?" Samuel said, "To stop you from repeating me." The tension trembled as if the walls themselves listened. Victor smiled, wolfish and sure. Alex said, "You taught me principles, now watch me wield them." Samuel's eyes watered with regret. The choice loomed, dark and merciless. The warehouse air thickened with betrayal, heavier than smoke. Samuel's voice broke the silence. You think Victor planted this rot? It was mine first. Alex's stomach nodded, words barely forming. You? Victor's laughter dripped like poison. Samuel said, I built the ledger as a sword for truth, but they forged it into shackles. Maya whispered, you were their architect. Samuel's face sagged under guilt. I believed compromise would expose corruption, he said, but every compromise became a chain. Victor sneered, your mentor broke before I ever touched the board. The rafters groaned as if carrying the weight of lies. Alex's grip faltered, the crowbar heavier than ever. You planted the trap I bled to escape, she whispered. Samuel stepped deeper into the light, every wrinkle etched with guilt. I taught you to fight corruption, he said, but I first taught you to bend. Alex's eyes burned. Bend becomes break, she said, voice sharp. Victor smirked. He is why you are here, Alex. He carved the stage for my play. Maya whispered, you betrayed her before Victor even called. Samuel flinched. I told myself one sacrifice saved many, he muttered, but each life fed the machine. Alex said, and you still ask me to forgive the drowning? Silence strangled the air. Samuel's mouth opened, but no words came. His silence scarred deeper than bullets. The walls felt narrower, suffocating under betrayal. Victor's boots echoed sharp as gunshots as he stepped closer. You crave truth. Here's yours, he said. Your mentor wrote the chains that bind Elias Ward. Alex's breath hitched, whispering, Elias. Samuel staggered, voice trembling. He wasn't meant to be the pawn. Maya's fists clenched. He lost everything because of you, she spat. Samuel's eyes glossed. I begged them not to use his name, but I signed the system that let them. Alex's chest heaved, crowbar slipping lower. You built the trap and left him to rot, she whispered. Victor's grin widened, savoring the fracture. The truth hung heavy, striking harder than any bullet could. Every piece of Alex's past felt like a lie bleeding fresh. Maya's voice shook the silence. If Elias was framed, then Victor rules the board, but Samuel carved it. Alex's voice cracked, all this blood spilled for a lie. Samuel rasped, for survival? Victor countered, for power. Alex's hands shook, crowbar clanging faintly. And for Lily? The silence burned hotter than fire. Samuel lowered his gaze. Alex's chest collapsed inward. Tell me you didn't trade her too, she demanded. Victor's smile widened, a predator's pride. Samuel's whisper bled from him. I thought I could shield her by giving them the files. The floor tilted. Alex's fury exploded. You endangered her to stitch your redemption. Victor chuckled, cruel as rope tightening on a gallows. Rain dripped through the rafters, every drop a clock counting down. Alex said, you built this prison, and I'm the one burning in it. Samuel staggered forward. No, I will take the blame. Victor said, blame is smoke. It does not resurrect the dead. Maya cried, we still have the files, Alex. The truth can still breathe. Victor hissed, truth kills quicker than bullets. Alex raised her chin, fire surging in her chest. Then let it kill me, she said, but it kills you first. The room went still, taut with electricity, every eye fixed on her. Choices pressed down like stone, the line drawn with blood and betrayal. Destiny demanded her strike, merciless and final. Rain battered the warehouse roof like war drums, summoning an army. Victor's circle of men closed in, rifles raised, silence sharp enough to cut. Alex's breath clouded, her chest locked in a vice, crowbar heavy in her grip. She said, you want me to kneel, but tonight I choose the ground I bleed on. Victor stepped forward, eyes lit with hunger, and said, the ground already chose you when you answered my call. Maya hissed, 10 guns, 2 of us, 1 slip. Samuel said, let my name be the anchor, not yours. Alex turned, fury in her voice. Your name already poisoned everything it touched. The spotlight above flared, casting her shadow tall as judgment on the wall. She whispered, if truth is a weapon, I'd draw it now. The warehouse seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her decision to detonate. Victor raised his phone like a blade drawn to kill. He said, "One call, and Lily becomes ash in memory." The threat cracked through Alex's bones like ice, but her voice held steady. She said, "Then hear my call." She pressed record, and a red light blinked alive, feeding the world. Maya gasped, heart hammering, whispering, "You're streaming this." Alex said, "The city deserves to see its cancer." For the first time, Victor's smirk faltered, his mask cracking under exposure. Samuel's voice carried sorrow. "Truth raises more than it heals." Alex's words burned, sharp as fire. Silence raised first. "I only name the butcher." The rifles shifted, hands trembling. Victor's smile thinned to nothing. The broadcast burned like a torch in the darkness. Victor snapped, voice slicing, "Shoot her now." But the order floated unanswered. The closest soldier's rifle dipped, fear bending his wrists. Alex raised her voice, steady as iron. "Even your men smell the rot." Victor snarled, "They fear me." Samuel thundered, "They fear the truth more than you." Alex lifted her phone high, its red eye glaring. "Every crime you buried, every name you sold, it is live now." Maya whispered, awe trembling her lips. "It's mirrored, Alex. They can't erase it." Sirens wailed outside, pressing closer, a pack of wolves converging. Victor's power slipped, his frame shaking with rage. Alex's pulse hammered, but she stood unbroken, crowbar and phone blazing in each hand. For the first time in years, she felt untouchable. Victor lunged, his fury snapping like a whip. His hand smashed Alex's arm, and pain tore through her bones. The phone spun across the floor, sliding through puddles, red light spiraling. Maya dove, knees scraping concrete, fingers outstretched, catching it before water swallowed it. Victor's voice hissed venom. "You think exposure saves her? Lily is still mine." Alex braced her stance, voice sharpened by rage. "It saves who she might become. It saves every child you would chain." Samuel's cry cracked through the storm. "Enough!" Guns clicked, echoing like thunder all around them. Alex raised her chin, blood dripping from her sleeve. She spat, "You wanted a final choice. Here it is, me or the truth." Victor's eyes twitched, hand trembling, power fracturing at its core. Siren light bled through shattered windows, red and blue spilling like wounds across the walls. Alex gripped the crowbar, every breath raw fire. Victor staggered, spitting, "This ends with your ruin, or with hers." Maya clutched the phone close, tears streaking down her cheeks. "The stream is locked," she whispered. "They all see now." Samuel's voice cracked like broken stone. "Alex, don't lose yourself in his ruin. Don't become me." Alex turned, fire in her gaze. "I am not becoming him. I am choosing." She lifted the crowbar high, steel gleaming like judgment. Her strike crashed down, thunder echoing through the rafters. Victor collapsed, empire shattered. Silence swept in, deafening. Alex whispered, voice trembling, "Lily, I kept the light." For the first time she breathed not fear, but freedom. The sirens cast their red and blue veins across the warehouse walls. As officers dragged Victor away, his smirk cracked into silence. His empire bled out, live across every screen in the city. Alex stood frozen, crowbar dangling from her hand like a crucifix after battle. Her breath sawed in and out, shallow, chest tight. Maya whispered, "It's done, Alex." "But why does it feel like ash instead of fire?" Samuel's voice rasped, "Because victory tastes of compromise, not triumph." Alex lowered her eyes to the slick concrete, where rain, blood, and oil mingled into one stain. She muttered, "The truth was supposed to free me, but all I feel is heavier." Maya pressed a hand on her arm, voice soft. "Heavy means you're still human." Alex exhaled, long and fractured, and the warehouse finally fell into silence. By dawn, the warehouse was swallowed by flashing bulbs and shouted questions. News vans lined the street, their antennas stabbing at the gray sky. Alex walked into the gauntlet, each camera flashed like a blade cutting her open. Reporters shouted, "Are you a hero? A traitor? A criminal?" Maya leaned close, whispering, "They see you as savior today. Tomorrow, they'll twist you into villain." Alex shoved aside a microphone, jaw clenched like stone. She said, "I didn't fight for their headlines. I fought for one child to wake alive." Samuel trailed behind, his face unreadable, the crowd ignoring him as if he were already erased. The noise rose, but Alex's silence carried louder than their questions. In the fractured sunrise, her shadow stretched long across wet asphalt. Hero, villain, or something far darker. The hospital smelled of bleach and sleepless nights. Machines beeped softly, indifferent to human weight. Lily stirred beneath sterile sheets, her small frame fragile as paper. Alex pressed her hand into her daughter's palm, whispering, "I kept the light for you." Lily's hazel eyes blinked open, voice thin. "You came back." Alex's vision blurred with tears, forehead pressed to Lily's hand. Maya stood by the window, silent, gripping a bouquet too tightly, petals trembling in her grasp. Samuel lingered at the door, his shadow long, his guilt heavier than his silence. Alex said, "No one will ever use your name as their chain again." Lily's fingers clung weakly, lifeline to a mother who almost drowned for truth. The monitors steadied their rhythm, and Alex's chest loosened for the first time in years. The courthouse echoed with footsteps and whispers, marble swallowing every sound. Samuel leaned against a column, trench coat weighed down by ghosts. He said, "I once thought compromise was survival." Alex stood firm, eyes sharp. "You taught me compromise was rot, dressed as reason." Maya crossed her arms, voice cold. "You let too many drown to save your skin." Samuel winced but nodded. "I cannot resurrect them, but I can testify. I can drag my sins into the light." Alex's face hardened. "Then testify. Carry your ghosts to the grave, not on my shoulders." Reporters passed by, uninterested in faded men who once wielded power. Samuel whispered to himself, "Perhaps truth is only worth it when it scars." His voice was almost lost in the marble. Alex didn't answer. Her silence was verdict enough. At sunset, Alex stood on the same rooftop where she first swore her vow. The city sprawling beneath in bruised colors of gold and violet. The wind tugged at her jacket, carrying the sirens' echo far below. Maya joined her, coat flaring, eyes on the horizon. "We lit the match," Maya said. "Now the city burns and heals in the same fire." Alex pressed Lily's photo against her chest, whispering, "She'll never know how close she came to disappearing." Maya's voice softened, "But she'll know you chose truth when silence was easier." Alex's lips trembled. "And I will carry both the choice and the scars forever." The wind rose, pulling her hair across her face. The city sighed beneath them, alive, broken, and waiting. Alex closed her eyes, not at peace, but resolved to live with the weight of her own fire. Night fell like a curtain, and the city watched itself on 1,000 leaking screens. Maya said, "They're arguing about heroes and villains already." Alex said, "Let them argue. The files will not change." Sirens thinned to a tired hum. A neighbor across the street cheered, then cursed, then went quiet. Alex said, "Truth lands like a storm and leaves like a stain." Maya said, "You could vanish for a while." Alex said, "I already vanished once. I came back with fire." A text buzzed with threats and thanks braided together. Alex said, "They will forget me and remember the proof." Maya said, "Then we did enough for tonight." Alex stared at the rain-polished glass and said, "Enough is a word that limps but survives." The apartment breathed in soft lamplight and the slow tick of a clock that forgave nothing. Lily said, "The bad dream ended, right?" Alex said, "It changed shape, and I found you." Lily said, "Will it come back?" Alex said, "If it does, it will meet us together." The photo on the dresser caught a small sun in its glass. Maya whispered from the door, "I'll keep watch on the feed." Alex brushed a braid from Lily's forehead and said, "No one owns your name now." Lily said, "Does that make you a hero?" Alex said, "It makes me your mother." The room settled, and the storm outside forgot their window for one brief breath. The diner smelled of coffee and old hope, and Elias held his cup as if it might flee. Elias said, "They took years I can't name." Alex said, "I helped take them back, not enough, but honest." He studied her like a ledger with blood in the margins. Elias said, "I do not forgive the machine." Alex said, "Neither do I." The neon buzzed a tired red halo over steel. Elias said, "You carried fire and did not burn me this time." Alex said, "I carried it because I burned before." He nodded once, a careful mercy. Elias said, "I will rebuild what I remember." Alex said, "I will guard what you build." The coffee cooled, and the past exhaled without permission. Under courthouse lights, Samuel stood with a folder that shook more than his hands. Samuel said, "I will name every step I took toward the abyss." Alex said, "Say it where the record cannot forget." He looked at the doors as if they judged him already. Maya said, "We scheduled the deposition and secured copies." Samuel said, "Confession will not empty the river." Alex said, "It may slow the current." He exhaled like a man lowering a weight he had mistaken for spine. Samuel said, "I wanted to be necessary. I became convenient." Alex said, "Be truthful, then be small." He nodded, and the hinges sighed as the doors opened on their own. At the old crossroads, the light turned green for no one again. A phone vibrated with an unknown hunger. Alex said, "Not tonight." She let it ring until the sound belonged to the rain. The city breathed, bruised but awake. Maya said, "Do you want me to answer?" Alex said, "I wanted to learn my silence." Headlights drifted past like patient ghosts. Alex looked at the wet asphalt that once held her fear and said, "I will not trade light for noise again." The phone stopped. The street listened. Alex said, "Let truth walk on its own legs now," and the night finally stepped aside.